Burning Topics with Braden Real Estate Group. I'm Jamisha Goodall, co-owner of Braden Real Estate Group. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. And I'm Nicole Handy, also her first cousin and co-owner. This is our very first segment of Burning Topics. So let me explain to you guys what Burning Topics is. It's essentially all the stuff that's burning in Houston. No, essentially everything that's affecting you guys right now, right today. Some of the most important things we'll see in the Houston real estate market, some of the things that can benefit both buyers and sellers the most, developers, investors. We want to talk about it. And so we created Burning Topics so that we stay relevant to what you guys need to know the most. Okay. So today's Burning Topic segment is going to be all about house hacking. And I know you guys have heard house hacking 1,000 times. House hacking is nothing new, but changes in the Houston market is bringing it back to Houston at a rapid pace. So that's what we're going to focus on today, guys. So essentially, I'm going to kick it over to Jamisha to just essentially tell us in a nutshell what house hacking is. I know so many of you already know, but I went to NARAB, so the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, they had a conference over the weekend. It was a Black Wealth Renaissance. I mean, not Black Wealth Renaissance. Oh, shout out to those guys because I really like it. But the Black Wealth Tour. And I was on the panel and I spoke about house hacking, and people came up to me and was like, hey, I've never heard of this, so I can't just assume people know about it. So tell them, what is house hacking in a nutshell?
House hacking is, I'm glad that you asked. So as you know, Houston is everywhere you look, social media, everywhere. A lot of people are talking about house hacking. A lot of people say they don't know what it is, but that's probably really a small percentage of it, because a lot of people are intrigued about house hacking because it's an affordable way to become a first-time investor. So house hacking, in essence, is a way to basically be a first-time investor, or it's the easiest way to jump into investment and become a homeowner or a property owner through a way that you have a tenant. You have tenants that are able to absorb the cost of your mortgage to be a homeowner and to have a supplement to that income of your mortgage.
So what she said in a nutshell is essentially you can purchase a property, occupy one of the units, and offset your mortgage payment by renting out the other units. That's house hacking.
Yeah. So I think house hacking is I'm excited. I'm excited right now. We're seeing so many builders, developers coming into the Houston market. We have new initiatives from the city of Houston that's really just changing the environment on what that is. What do you think those new builders, what they have come into the community, the builders, the developers, and these new ordinances? So we talked about the livable spaces ordinance.
So I'm just going to briefly touch on it, but essentially what the livable spaces ordinance has done is it has allowed developers to put more than 2 units on what we call a standard lot in Houston, right? So back in the day, you could only do 2 doors, like a duplex or 2 units on a 5,000 square foot lot. So now they have different options to where you can put more than 2 units on a 5,000 square foot lot. They've also reduced the restrictions and guidelines that actually cost developers more. So, like the driveway guidelines and things like that. Concrete is expensive to pour, right? And what we found out is that, to my surprise, honestly, it's a lot of people in Houston that don't have cars. In my personal opinion, I think you need a car to get around the city.
I had no clue.
Right? But it's a lot of people that don't that either has one car or no car. So the city has taken away the extensive driveway guideline now. So essentially, it makes it cheaper for developers to build these properties. Hence, they sell them at a cheaper price to the end buyer.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So and we're starting to, because the city just changed that, we're really starting to see an influx of developers building duplexes. I mean, I've never seen it at this rate, right? I mean, if you look at Houston compared to other cities like Chicago and things like that, we're not a multifamily city. You see multifamily all the time, but our focus is not truly multifamily. So that's coming back, right?
Well, that's going to be really great too. I'm glad that you brought that point up. It's an influx of people building multifamily homes, because when you have an influx of people building, you have supply. And that's going to help with the affordability as well, because before it was no supply and the demand was high, so prices were up. So that's
and so right now we're seeing a lot of house hackers, first-time home buyers, get not only a primary residence, but also get their investment property through buying multifamily, And so I'll give you even just one of the scenarios that I've recently worked with one of my clients. If you kind of look at like affordability, in Houston, interest rates are high right now,
Yeah.
and it's not just affordability in Houston, it's affordability all over the nation, but interest rates are high right now. So it's making what people can afford less and less, right? But prices aren't essentially going down,
No, they're not.
and so people do need offsets, right? They do need mortgage payment offsets. So one of the scenarios that I recently looked at with one of my particular clients, we were looking at a $400,000 duplex. And essentially that $400,000 duplex, it was, when we looked at what the mortgage payment would be, it would be $3,700.
Mm-hmm.
This was a brand new duplex for $400,000. Mortgage payment $3,700. She was able to. We looked at like what the other unit would rent for. $1,700.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because affordability has gone down in a sense. It has done the adverse opposite with rentals. It's increased the rental rates because now more people need to rent, right? So like I said, $3,700 mortgage payment, $1,700. If you look at what she's getting in terms of what her out-of-pocket cost is, it's extremely low. You know what I'm saying? It's extremely low. So in another world, if she were to buy a $400,000 single-family home, then now she has to eat this $3,700 cost all by herself. Now that she no longer has to do that, she's basically split her mortgage payment in half. Let me say this. Now, every time you house hack does not mean you're going to split your mortgage payment in half.
Yeah.
People should not look for house hacking as a solution to cover their mortgage payment. It is simply an offset.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's so funny. So everybody's talking about right now, my DMs are, Nicole made a social media post. So all my people know better than Nicole for the information. So they call me for it. So they called me and they said, hey, I'm really interested in house hacking. I'm really interested in duplexes. But I looked at the rent rates. The affordability isn't there from a rent rate. And so when you said that, you have to understand it's not about absorbing your full or taking over, even though that would be nice, right? It's not about taking over your whole mortgage and making that you won't have a mortgage on the home. But the thing you also have to consider is equity in the home. So houses, real estate, property appreciates, okay? The reason that we buy real estate is not just from a cash flow perspective. The other angle is appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So you hold on that property for, 3 to 5 years, even longer if you want to. And yeah, your rent, you might didn't have a big old cash flow. You wasn't bringing in $500, $600 a month.
Yeah.
But if you can make, in 5-6 years, make $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 from that home, that's a win to me.
Well, and even not so much that, that's the one positive thing about having appreciating assets as well. You can use leverage the equity in that asset to get more assets. Yes. So layman terms, guys, you can leverage the equity that you have in one home to acquire more homes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I think we all look at it from I even had a guy tell me like, I can't bring no girl home to this. I'm like, sweetheart,
your priorities
if that woman you're bringing home cannot see that when she steps foot on your multifamily property, see all of the equity, see all the leverage, then she's not the one for you.
Yeah.
Point blank period. Yeah, point blank period. I think a lot of homeowners still have their priorities mixed up because what a home used to look like for, let's just say, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home, it looks totally different than what it looks like now. And I think some people still have that mindset of I'm still supposed to get what they were offering back in the day. Mm-hmm. Property goes up. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, property is going to appreciate year over year, no matter what, even through hard times.
Yeah. And we have to be okay with deferred gratification. And I think that's the hardest part about, hey, they want the cash flow right now. And I understand wanting the cash flow. If you're going to have a tenant and things break down, you want to have the opportunity to have the cash flow from it. But come on, you might not. But this investment that you're making today, the fact that you're not paying, you have a whole property that's 2 units, 4 units that you're not paying the full mortgage for, and you have somebody helping you with that. And then later on, you can flip and sell this property later, and you can rent and repeat. Yeah. Come on now, see the vision.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the financial aspects, right? How can people actually get into these homes? So Fannie Mae just made a change to the conventional loan guidelines, right? So guys, back in the day, if you were purchasing a multifamily property using a conventional loan, it was a minimum for a duplex of 15% down, 15%. And if you wanted a triplex or a fourplex, it was 25% down, right? And so when you look at like the average prices of triplexes and quads in Houston, we're looking in excess $700,000, $500, $1 million, right? So to have somebody come to the table with 25%, a house hacker just honestly doesn't make, people don't have that kind of money, right? So back in the day, I would always advise my clients to get an FHA loan, which was only 3.5% down. Right. 3.5% down. So, you have, let's just say again, a 300 duplexes are not $300,000 anymore, guys. I'm using this for examples, right?
Easy math example.
Yeah, easy math examples. You have a duplex that's $300,000, 15% down. What is that? On a $300,000 duplex, that's over $40,000, right?
Absolutely.
But on the FHA side, now we're looking at $300,000. That's what, $10,500. So like your cash out of pocket was extremely lower with an FHA loan. But I'll just be frank, there's a lot of misconceptions with FHA loans, especially even me. I've had to educate some of my developer clients that was selling multifamily that on why it's okay to still use FHA. Let's just be frank. There's some more extensive requirements and paperwork side for builders when they sell to FHA buyers, but also too there's some more appraisal restrictions and guidelines, and so some people just shy away from it. But I think that's an education gap. You know what I'm saying? Because
education gap.
When you look at the consumers that's buying in these affordable price points, they are using FHA loans.
So who do you think needs to be educated in that process?
So I really think it's number one, it's the builders. Our clients. Number one, let's just do right by people, right? Let's price the home right the first time, right? I mean, we have access to all these resources. We know if a home is going to appraise or meet the appraisal requirements or not. So let's just price it according to what it will appraise for. And the second piece is they don't like the paperwork, right? So what we do at Braden Real Estate Group, we help them with that paperwork. Now we don't do the paperwork for them, but we hey, here are all the requirements. Here's all the paperwork that's gonna be due that's gonna be due when you get ready to close. So let's go ahead on the back end and start, getting all this paperwork together. Now, I mean, I really think it's just an education gap. You know what I'm saying?
And it's us realtors as well in the industry. Realtors are sometimes scared or to have that or uncomfortable. I'm not gonna say scared, uncomfortable to have those conversations with your builder clients and your developer clients and educating them to know, hey, this is not a bad thing. FHA does not mean bad. And just explaining them that we price things right from the realtor responsibility to share the information with our clients.
Because if we look at, in some of these revitalized areas, if we look at the sales for multifamily prior to now, a lot of them were FHA loans, whether if they wanted to accept them or not. They were FHA loans because house hacking has been a strategy that's been around for a long time.
Yeah, you were house hacking your tail off a few years back with clients. I had to be careful with that. We're on national streaming. But no, absolutely. No, I think we can definitely see a big impact of house hacking. And let's just kind of talk about, I think you had a client, this is probably about what, maybe 2-3 years ago, that really almost was crying to letting you know that they would never have been able to secure a property or imagine that they would be able to be an investor so early in the game if it wasn't for these options.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
I remember who you were talking about. I'm not going to say her name, but I think she was very smart. And it's crazy because the duplex that she has now, I know she paid $354,000 for it. They're building, I'm selling a duplex, the same makeup as hers, right next door to the one she purchased just 3 years ago for $499.
Ooh.
For $499.
$499. Yeah. I guess I wanted you to bring that story up because it's the opportunity. Like, people don't have these type of options.
Right. But just being very transparent, without the multiple door option, she wouldn't have been able to afford even a $350,000 house at that time. No. But the offset of the mortgage allowed her to purchase that property. And now, honestly, she's moved on. So both of her doors are rented out. It's an income generating property for her, which has tons of equity, and if she, and I know she's a smart woman, so I haven't talked to her in a while, but I can just imagine she's probably on to another one by now, or working on that by now. And I need to call her. Matter of fact, she was smart, and she bought a duplex when duplexes really weren't the thing in Houston, and I mean, let's just be frank now. It's not luxurious.
It's not,
it's not super, it's nice, it's nice, but it's not a luxurious property. But I mean, to look at, hey, what she has bought the property for and they're selling for almost $150,000 more now than what she paid for it just 3 years ago. That just makes sense.
Yeah. So the landscape in Houston is changing.
Yeah.
People are able to get into multifamily homes at a more affordable price point, affordable out-of-pocket costs with the new changes that we're seeing right now in the industry. But also just FHA is just a solid option. We were speaking earlier, and with the new changes with the 5% conventional, you still got to have tons. You still got to have reserves. You still have to have about 6 months of reserves to be able to secure these homes. So with that 3.5% and no additional reserves, that's important for a lot of people to make it affordable to get into that
So
space.
guys, what she's saying is reserves, right? This is money that the lending institution still wants you to have in a bank after your down payment and closing costs. So 6 months worth of reserves on the conventional side. Now that puts you, let's just say, again, for round numbers, let's just say your mortgage is $2,000. Now you're looking at having an additional $12,000 in the bank after you've paid your down payment and closing costs. So I mean, FHA does still make sense. I think when we kind of compare the two and look at, in my opinion, what's better, FHA or conventional, I'm always going to say whatever is favorable for you all. Yep. FHA does have a little bit more guidelines too. I mean, requirements, which makes it a little bit more challenging in certain aspects. Let me give you an example. So there's a self-sufficiency rule for if you do a 3 or 4 door. Right. So basically the rents that you make off of those properties, they have to equate to a certain amount. And I'll let a lender take a deeper dive into it, but you don't have those type of restrictions with a conventional loan, right? You don't have that built-in appraisal contingency with a conventional loan, right? So in some cases, it does make sense. Also too, FHA does have loan limits. So if you're looking to buy multifamily in some of these higher end areas of Houston where a quad is in excess $1 million, $1.5 million, conventional options may look better for you. But let me say this, and I said this in the last podcast that we did when we had one of our lenders on, is now look, 5% down on $1 million, right? Look at what that looks like. You can get $1 million asset for only $50,000 out of pocket. And you can control $1 million asset for only $50,000 out of pocket. And he said something that was key on the last segment. If you want to invest $1 million, you got to give $1 million. You have to give $1 million right then and there. If you're looking to invest in the stock market or anything, you have to give $1 million right then and there. Real estate is the only way that you can invest and have control of $1 million asset with only $50,000.
Yeah, with a 5% investment. And that's, I love our industry, Nicole. I love what we do is because we as realtors get the opportunity to educate people every day. And people come to me all the time like, I didn't think that was possible. But like, why? Why did you not think that was possible? Right. And just us being here and this opportunity to educate you and letting you know, you can do this. You become an investor. You can build generational wealth. You could create a legacy for you and your family. And we at Braden can help you do that, by the way. Plug real quick.
So I want to ask you a question. What's happening in Houston with us actively working this market in this landscape? Do you feel like multifamily is going to be the new future of affordability in Houston?
Affordability, absolutely. I mean, you have to understand that people's cost of living are not increasing the way that the cost and the inflation is going.
Right.
And so people have to find shelter is one of the top needs of life. It's not an option. It's not something that we just want to have. So when you're looking at affordability, people have to be able to live somewhere. They have to be able to afford shelter. It's not a want.
Right.
It's a need. It's a necessity. Yeah. So I definitely see it.
Yeah. And guys, let's talk about, I always tell people, use this to get in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Use this to get in the game. And I will never forget how real estate has changed my life. Never forget how it's changed my life. The very first home that I bought, and I tell this story all the time because it is so impactful to me, but the very first property that I bought was $76,000. I was still living at home with my parents. Honestly, the very first property I bought was $76,000. I bought that property, put a for rent sign in the front yard, and went back home to live with my parents. So for 5 years, I always had somebody paying the mortgage. I never paid the mortgage out of my pocket. I bought a turnkey rent-ready property, never paid a dime of mortgage out of my pocket. And being honest, back in that time, my mortgage payment was $700. I rented it out for $1,400. So I was making double off the rent. But that property, 5 years later, I sold it and made more cash off the sale than I paid for the property.
I remember.
After I paid all of my closing costs and all of that stuff, I still made more cash off the sale in only 5 years than I paid for the property. You know, so I always tell people, like, use this to get in the game, because I took that money, then I got Airbnbs and I got other rental properties and things like that. So, you know, that one property allowed me to get 4 more properties, 4 more properties, you know, so use this as a strategy to get in the game. Don't always feel like you have to start off with your dream home. Use this strategy to get in the game, and then be smart about leveraging that money to keep you in the game.
Absolutely. Let's maintain this wealth.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. So one last thing we want to talk about before we hop off. We hope you guys found that helpful. But Braden Real Estate Group, hey, shameless plug, because I'm the one on the mic. You know, shameless plug, because I'm the one on the mic. So we work with a lot of developers here in the Houston area that's building new construction duplexes. I mean, so we have access to them. So if you want to get on our list, I'm going to put the link below. If you want to get on our list to be notified before these properties, these duplexes, mostly duplexes, being honest, but before they hit the market, just drop us your information. Click the link to drop us your information, and you will be notified every time we work with a developer that's bringing these type of properties to Houston that will allow you to essentially, like I said, get in the game. So, guys, I'm Nicole Handy, and this is my partner,
Jermisha Godot.
Thank you, guys, for sticking with us on Burning Topics. Come back to us every week, guys, because we'll be bringing more and more burning topics that benefit you the most.
See you next time.